Welcome to our Anthem show. Thank you so much for joining us today. Joining me today is Arekkz.
How's it going?
And Dantics.
Hello, guys.
Looking behind the screen a little bit, Dantics gets up super early and Arekkz stays up super late, so I do appreciate them taking the time to join me to have the show. And I appreciate all of you joining us on a Sunday to talk all about Anthem. So we're going to address a few things today. We're going to talk about some of the comments from last week who seemed to feel like we weren't critical enough. I kind of want to address that and the goals for the show. We're going to talk about the 90-day roadmap. We're going to talk about cataclysms, some of the truly broken drop rates drops and builds in the game. And let's get right into it. So a lot of people pointed out last week that we weren't critical enough. And to that, I just want to say that's not necessarily what this show is about. I fully recognize that there are stuff and things about the game that aren't great and could be better. The loading screens, the constant audio crashes, and you can see all of that on my streams. If you want to see critique, you can check out Dantics' critical review that he did, looking at all the flaws in the game. Arekkz did an opinion piece about how he's feeling about it, and IGN released a very critical take from none other than James Duggan. You know, IGN, I work there full time, of course. So if you want to see overall critiques of a product, look no further than just my screens where I'm constantly having to reboot. But at the end of the day, we're here because we're having fun with the game, and we're trying to say, hey, everybody, we're having fun. Here's the reasons we're still having fun. And if you want to separately see our in-depth critiques, you can see those on our individual platforms. Do you guys feel the same way? That wasn't my goal with the show, wasn't to poo-poo all over Anthem. Yeah,
it wasn't my goal either.
Mm-hmm.
And
I completely agree.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I see critique everywhere on the internet, and I thought this could be a little bit of a different take, just because it's very easy to go and find something that just rips into this game. So for us, for me, for everyone here, I think I speak for all of you, we just want to talk about what we do enjoy about the game, but doesn't mean we won't be critiquing it. So
yeah, of
exactly.
course.
Yeah, and I mean. Yeah, and I mean just to add to that, I mean it's the exact same thing. It's like, there's none of us are blind to the issues. We've all spoken about them very clearly, but despite those ones, that was actually the title of my video. Like, despite the issues, I am still enjoying the game. Like, I still wake up. I got up this morning. I had a load of things to do, and I was supposed to be having a day to do work stuff, and I was like, let me just jump on and play for a couple of hours still. Like, I'm jumping on because I want to jump on, right? So yeah, I think it's important to have a place where we can just chat about the things we're enjoying, raise that stuff, and in doing this and in having these conversations, we will still talk about issues as we will do today. But yeah, I think, as you say, there are platforms for it if you want the critical feedback, but otherwise, if you're just fans of the game and you want to chat about Anthem, then hey, let's get going.
Yeah, to balance out that sort of positive, negative aspect that you guys were asking for, I did reach out to some of the more critical people that you were pointing out in chat last week. I reached out to Young A, who actually may be on a future episode, to kind of look at a critical look at Anthem, which would be interesting to do, and he was very nice and kind. He apologized for getting back to me late, but he was nice. I reached out to Skill Up, who politely declined. It was probably the nicest decline. He basically said he feels so negative about the game. He didn't want to bring down he didn't want to be a Debbie Downer, basically, but he was really, really nice about it. And I was like, hey, man, I can respect that. And I wish him the best, and he wished us the best. So that was really nice. James Duggan couldn't make it today. He worked very hard on the Anthem review for IGN, but he obviously has a standing invitation as he's a friend and a colleague in the industry. So, and Amtash, he had a hockey practice with his kid. So I'm not afraid of having critical voices on the show, and we will reach out to those people, as you know, from the various products that I've created for IGN and Freelancer chat and Fireteam chat, that I like discourse. I like having conversations with people that can do it respectfully. So of course we're gonna be open to that. So we actually do have a few criticisms today, and the main question is about hope for the future for the show. So let's get into some of the criticisms that are a little bit fun by talking about some of the actually broken builds in the game and broken drops that are happening in the game. We can open up talking about how pre-patch we were getting a lot of purples, for example, and I actually really like this drop mechanic. And post-patch we're getting whites and greens, which is really, really strange to me. And it turns out that is intentional. And I apologize. I've been talking nonstop, not letting these guys talk. So real quick, I'll just read Ben Irving's update. He said, update on what happened here. In our Friday changes, one of the edits we made had the side effect of increasing certain drop chances. This was not intended. Once we identified the problem, we changed it back to how it was before. That was about 11 hours later. So when we were getting all those purples, that's not what was supposed to be happening. He says, no, we did intentionally change the drop rates of rare items in certain chests per the patch notes we posted. So getting those whites and greens seems to be how they want it to happen, which is unfortunate because I liked it the other way. Do you guys agree that getting the purples after you're 30 and you're in the end game is what you should be getting? Arekkz, you take it away. You start.
Yeah, I mean, like it's a loser game, right? There's always going to be items you get that you just trash straight away. But I feel like once you've gone through that whole game, right, it's like, you do your like 1 to 13, you encounter like, your whites and your greens and some blues, and then you start to get to the purples. Like once you're post 30, like I should not be seeing commons and uncommons because you're never ever going to use them. They're straight dismantles. There's literally zero value for them, and especially if you're in a class, you're largely getting things for your class. Like if you want to like split it up so you're not always getting like the best stuff, then fair enough. Throw a couple of rares in there, some occasional blues. I'll accept that. But like, even though I'm not going to use them, but still, like I get you have to balance it out. But yeah, like you need to be seeing like it should be if I'm seeing commons and greens. I mean, I kind of said to you this like before we started, but the fact that you can get a legendary drop and you're looking at it thinking, is that an uncommon? Is that a legendary? Like that shouldn't even be a thing. Right, half of our drops. Like we have this funny debate whenever I'm playing with my group of friends. Like it's always like, "Yo, I got a legendary." They're like, "No, it's a common. It's a common." It's like, "No, it's a legendary." They're like, "Are you sure? How do you know?" I'm like, "No, that I know that green." And then, but there's sometimes you get sort of baited. Like if you're in the Scar Temple when it's slightly darker, the lighting can make it look like a legendary. And I'm like, you can't do that to me, man. So yeah, I think it definitely needs to be addressed. And I mean, the fact that the drop rates that we were having that we were all enjoying, and then to learn they weren't intentional. I feel like I personally felt like the drop rates were in a good place because inscriptions, in a very similar manner to Division, inscriptions have so much granularity on loot, and a lot of the ones you get you're throwing away. So you kind of need to get loot at that frequency because you're dismantling like 90% of it, right? So for like in the current system, to try and get that perfect roll, I'm chasing some very particular items, and it's now going to be even harder for me to ever get them. So yeah, Dantics, what do you think?
Yeah, it's an interesting position for me because, to be honest, most of the time I just don't even pick up the commons anymore. I know that's I know people out there who love breaking them down or thinking, yeah, what are you doing, buddy? Just pick them up. But I don't know. They just feel it's almost disheartening to see them appear at the end screen, like.
But the components. No, I'm just kidding.
I know, but the components, dude. But then it's like, I'm chasing those masterworks, and just picking one up just makes me feel like I'm taking a backward step almost. When you're in Diablo and you see a white appear, you don't pick the white up. No. You just don't. You're like, I'm above this right now. I'm sitting up here and the whites are down here. I've gone through my trials, man. I've gone through it. But no, where the loot was, I think, was in a good place because, like Arekkz said, I was looking for very specific components. I was looking for something very specific, and I never found it. And now it's even harder.
Definitely.
So
yeah. I really hope that they end up reverting and going back to sort of how it was before, because I actually had a really, really good time getting those purples and sort of figuring out the best build that I could possibly make. One thing that also frustrates me about the new drop system is that I've gotten like nothing for my other javelins running Grandmaster, which is really weird. They said they said that they were going to have that, or at least that's sort of what I expected. And I have to run with those other javelins to get any chance at drops. I don't really like that. So if I'm going to get whites and greens, at least give me those for the other javelin platforms that I'm not running.
That's true. Yeah, because I found with that, to your point of that, the only thing that I've been getting for other javelins have been reliably like other javelin components. Like I get the components, obviously I have the weapons which are transferable. But yeah, I know what you mean. Like I still like have all the other ones. I literally have nothing in the ability slots. And it's just been like, So yeah.
I mean, I went over to the Interceptor. I don't play the Interceptor that much, and all I had was the starting gear pieces, the white poison bomb and the shurikens. So for me, it was like, okay, well, I have to craft this up to my current level, but it's still white. And then I went through a few missions and I was just drastically underpowered for that given time. So it just felt a little odd to me that I'd been playing for, at that time, 60 hours plus, and I hadn't got anything for it. Anything.
Yeah, for sure. One of the actually broken builds in the game that I don't think they've patched at this recording time, but basically Avenging Herald, it's a sidearm that hovering damage increases 200%. If you get 2, I believe it stacks to 400%. But if you also get Gunslinger Mark Sense on a storm and dodge repeatedly, it stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks and stacks. And what happens is you can literally one-shot the final boss on Tyrant Mine for like 1.4 million damage. And shout out to Reddit for figuring that out. I had to go through all of the threads. Oh, apparently it's been fixed. They already fixed it. So good luck if you haven't done that yet. I do apologize, but that was absolutely fun. I would have loved to gotten the chance, but I never got an Avenging Herald. What other sort of fun things that are very powerful that have you guys been working on? Arekkz, what have you found that's worked really well that potentially could need a nerf? Anything that good?
So I wouldn't say like I've got like a really tanky Colossus build. I think it's fine. It's within the realms of what should be acceptable in the game. So I wouldn't say I found anything like broken for that. But it is nice because I think one of the concerns, like if you think back to the episodes when we were speaking during the demo, a lot of people were saying like, oh, I really wanted to be the tanky Colossus, but I just felt like paper. But I actually have a tanky Colossus. Like I can go in, I can face tank bosses. Like when the Scar Temple boss, right, has that annoying triple rocket where it stun locks you. Early on, like when I went to Grandmaster, like that was game. That was a wrap. Like if I got hit by that, even my shield, I'm dead. Like now, I can sit there and firm all of it, and I can literally walk towards him. Like I used to fight behind cover. Anytime we drop his shield, I stand right next to him now, and I just like unload onto his legs, and I've actually built like, and I was running through Grandmaster 1 and 2 today. Like I'm like a little bit shy of like Grandmaster 3 just yet, but I was like Grandmaster 2 solo. I was doing some other stuff today, and I can still just tank it and firm it. So yeah, that's coming out really nicely. I'm missing a couple of components to make it perfect, but very, very soon that'll.
I need you in my party. I need you in my party. All I'm getting is storms and.
Yeah, dude. A good Colossus is really, really excellent to have. Even just for reses, if the other guys are getting down or whatever, because he has so much shield and ability to get out there and help people.
I do really hope though. Like I would like them to look at the support abilities because I feel like. Because I use the aggro for Colossus, right? But still, it's a bit weird the way it works, right? Like, it works in a cone, so obviously you need to catch them, so fair enough. I mean, I would prefer if it was just an AoE, like, 360 thing. But even I can accept the cone, but a lot of the time, I'll use it, and I'll mark the enemies that are supposedly going to focus on me, but they still continue to attack other people, so I would love it if they could look at, like... Because, obviously from playing... I mean, maybe... If that's not intended functionality, fair enough, but from playing tanks in other games, like, if I'm going to do, like, an aggro cry, I should be taking the heat from my team. So it doesn't, like, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. So it's a bit like, I don't really know whether it's actually broken or whether there's certain situations. But yeah, that's one of the sort of discrepancies that I would like to sort of learn more about.
Yeah, I mean, if that's the case, then you might as well use the other support ability, which gives everyone a resistance buff, right? But the real question is, can you tank the spinning fans?
No.
Because people always seem to die on those. So it's like, do you just try to take the fan out first, or do you power through the damage? That's... In terms of broken builds, I haven't as well, Destin. I haven't found something extremely broken besides, of course, the Avenging Herald build, which I did give a try to, and that was a bit of fun for a little bit. But now, alas, it's gone. But the Avenging Herald is still really, really strong. It is, I would say it still probably needs a bit of a change.
Nope, leave it alone.
It's unfortunate.
Leave it alone. It's totally fine.
Touch on that point though. I do think like I do feel like I do sort of want to sort of stress that like I feel like they should look into like bringing it back so weapons so like you can factor in the holstered ability, because the reason that was so broken wasn't because of the double stacking Avenging Herald. It was because of the marksman's dodge. Right, that was what made it. That was what took it to the next level. I do think there's actually a lot of interesting build potential when you have double, like when you can factor in weapons. I mean, Division 2 has actually introduced this in Division 2 where they physically have holstered weapon talents. So you think about your secondary not just as a weapon you can use, but as a weapon that can benefit your build when not in use. And I think that actually adds a really interesting dynamic, because if you don't have that, then it's like, all right, I'm only thinking about the things I've got equipped. So suddenly when you can factor that in, so I would like to sort of see them not like completely just write that off because of like double stacked Avenging Heralds, because I think Anthem is definitely one of those games that I'm one of the things I'm super enjoying right now is, of all the looter shooters I've played, right, in Destiny, like I've got all the exotics and I'll have like a really good build, and even end game I still don't feel powerful. I feel like I'm kind of fighting for my life, right? I played Division, I had like a nicely min-max build back when I was playing it, and I still didn't feel super powerful. In Anthem, I genuinely have that powerful feeling. I feel like a god. I'm like, yo, I'm running in, I'm like walking through all these enemies, I'm firing rockets off, and I'm like, you know what? This is how I want to feel, because if I've grinded for this time and I've got this badass gear, I want to feel powerful. I mean, you still need to have a challenge, obviously, but I want to feel powerful. So I feel like I hope they don't just look at Avenging Herald and be like, right, we're never going to have it so you can stack weapons again, because I feel like there is some great potential there if done correctly.
Yeah.
Stacking weapons is definitely something I want to see stay the same. It's the same with all like the Raptor Sense kind of weapons, masterwork weapons, where if you're going for like a hover build, you can just put on different Raptor Sense weapons, and if you hover, they all kind of work together. I think if anything, there needs to be more of that, because there's a lot of weapons wherein you need to get the last clip emptied to get the effect, or you need to shoot enough weak points with that specific weapon to get the effect. But it's like, well, change those around so they still apply when you're not using them. That would be very, very interesting to your build. And definitely add more power and make you feel more like a badass. And that is BioWare's philosophy, to make you feel like a god, right?
Yeah. There have been some fun weapons I forget their names off the top of my head, but there was one, it was like a 3-round burst, and on the third hit it causes an explosion. That one was really fun to use.
Divine Vengeance.
Divine Vengeance, yes, thank you. And that was just really, really cool to get for the first time. That was my first drop, so really, really stoked about that.
So good.
And then I have one that could be improved. It has potential, but it's the one where you reload and it causes a combo detonation. And I like that weapon, but you have to be standing next to the person, like inside of them, for it to detonate. I'm like, this needs way more range. This is stupid.
Also, the visual effect for that, like, I love combo detonations in this game, but on that weapon, right, that was one of the first masterworks that someone in our team got. And we're like, yo, let's see what it looks like, right? I kid you not. When he demonstrated it and he reloaded, it just looked like a fart. It was just like, I'm like, I'm standing here looking for an explosion. It's just like, ooh.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Because you reload, and then there's like a delay as well. So it's like you go, doot.
It totally does. Yeah. It totally does.
It does.
Yeah. So that's basically my feedback for the weapon stuff. Last critical thing, probably the loading screens are my biggest critique by far. It's the same image every time, I think. Just do anything else with the loading screens. If they have to be there, fine. And also, there's ways to eliminate it, because right now it's like you could go to the Forge. Let me just launch to the screen right from the Forge, maybe, because like that's sort of clunky. You got to go to the Forge. You got to exit the Forge. Then you go into the screen. Then you go into the mission. Why not just go into the mission where you can actually launch the Forge, and then just be able to do more from more places? I think would help that a lot. What do you guys think?
I completely agree. A lot of the criticisms my friends had, and a reason why a few of them actually aren't playing anymore, is because they felt this just immersion break between missions and the Forge and executing other missions. So like, there doesn't need to be 3 loading screens between those. It could be literally, I finish a mission and I can go straight into starting another mission. Right? The screen should just come up. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Especially late game. Late game, it is absolutely needed. And then there's the whole loading screen dilemma, where it's like, it doesn't even show you pieces of lore. If there was all of the codex you unlocked, you could read through it while it's loading. That would be fantastic, and it wouldn't take up that much resources to do. Even letting you look through the items that you have in your not in your Forge, but in your stash. Can't remember what they call that. Letting you look through your items, or reading about the items, or reading about all this stuff that they're put into the game would just be amazing. Or even something interactable would be great to reduce the stress of just staring at the same scar picture over and over.
Yeah,
again.
right. Yeah, absolutely. So looking forward, what do we have? I actually have the roadmap up over here. I'm just going to read it really quick. Year 1, step into the world of Anthem. Act 1, echoes of reality. The world of Anthem is a dangerous place, chaotic, unpredictable, a world left unfinished and abandoned by the gods. As a freelancer, you are one of the elite few chosen to fight against the chaos, to wield the power of your javelin and bring order to the madness. So, this sort of outlines their 30-day look at what they're going to be doing for the remainder of the next 90 days. They're going to have recurring updates like fixes. They're going to get weekly alliance stuff, daily, weekly, and monthly challenges. And Prospero Store is going to refresh in February. We're going to get Outlaw Outrage, There Be Giants, Shaper Surge, and March, Elysian Stronghold caches. New items, legendary missions, Cortex, There Be Giants, Outlaw Outrage, and Cortex Lock. And then April, the Master System, a whole bunch of stuff in April. And then in May, we get Cataclysms start. So I was a little concerned that Cataclysms aren't starting until May. It seems a little bit far off for me. And secondarily, some of the events that they have listed, I was trying to bring it up here really quick. Some of the events that they have listed aren't as enticing as I thought they would be, like Outlaw Outrage. We got to experience that already. There's just more outlaws in free play, right? It doesn't seem like there's any sort of story bonus or anything interesting that happens in like the There Be Giants free play event. You kill all 4 of them and you get a loot drop chance. Like that should be like maybe a guaranteed legendary the first time you do it. There needs to be more incentivization to experience these events. What do you guys think? First of all, let's start with the current events, and then we'll talk about the Shaper Storms or the Cataclysms, in May.
Okay, yeah. I mean, so I didn't actually do the Outlaw Outrage one because I didn't actually see that, but I did There Be Giants. I actually did it before it was kind of, I think I did it like as soon as it had gone live, so it wasn't actually tracking at first, so I had to like redo it. And I mean, there's 2 things to it. Like, as events go, it was quite light. It was kind of just like a decent farm because like Titans at the time seemed to have a decent chance of dropping, like Masterworks and stuff, and they reliably spawned. So you could basically go to 1 of 4 locations and just farm them. It would have been nice if they looked a little different, maybe had like an additional mechanic so they weren't just the same Titans with a fancy name. Like even if it was just like a red Titan and like maybe during the fire thing he had like a 3rd tier of rings, just so he behaves slightly different. I'm not saying they have to be like crazy drastic change every single time, but something that makes them like more than just like, no, this is just another Titan, but just with the name like Barry or something like that, right? It's like that's not so. So I definitely think there should be more, and the fact as well that the only reward you got was a vinyl. Maybe incentivize it more. Maybe kind of tapping into what they're going to be doing soon with the stronghold caches. Maybe they could like tie a cosmetic to it. Because like I for one, I mean I don't know about like a lot of you guys that are like listening, watching and whatnot. Like I don't personally use the vinyls. Like on Colossus, a lot of them don't seem to just like come out that well. Yeah. So I color my Colossus, but I never use vinyls. So like, but if I got a cool, like even if maybe it's sort of like each event has something, like the Outlaw Outrage had like some arms, and then like the There Be Giants had like legs, and then you do Shaper Surge and you have a chest, and then therefore in like a month's worth of events, then you can have like a whole build up. Maybe that could be cool. So I mean they're fine, like they drop in, but ultimately these took me like an hour to do, right? So like once you've done it, that's basically it.
That's it.
There's so little incentivization to do them. It's just like so the Titan one's going on right now, and is there a vinyl attached to that, Arekkz?
Yeah, there is.
There is. So I mean, like I didn't even know that. Like they don't telegraph that anywhere. So I don't even know what the incentivization do this. It's like you could get some drops. What? Why am I chasing this? More cosmetic stuff would be great, and that is coming down the road to strongholds we know of, and that's great. I want to see more armor-based drops that you can get actually in the game and not just buy from Prospero. What about you, Dantics? How do you feel about the world events thus far?
Look, there's a few points I want to touch on. First is what Arekkz mentioned. I think there should be some pointed differences with the actual enemies. Gary would be a great one. Seeing the Titan, like even being microscopic, just reduce it down to the size of a javelin, for example. Just something silly like that would be great. Like tiny Titans. event, like just something different, because right now it's the same Titans we've been fighting over and over again, which I mean is fine. It's a good fight, but for an event, I think we need something more. Also, I think it needs to be at least a guaranteed masterwork on Grandmaster 1, right? After finishing all of them, you should get a guaranteed, and then it's people incentivized to do it. Then it'll be like, yes, let's get our Grandmasters, because at the end of the day, a vinyl is not enough. A vinyl is just like, okay, we got the vinyl, now what do we do? If it's actually loot chasing involved, people are going to do it and people are going to like it. And if there's some point of difference as well with the actual enemies. And then we have the whole lack of information, which Destin touched on. I didn't actually know what was going on. One of my fans in Discord had to tell me. And so I jumped in and tried it out. I'm like, is this an event? Is this an actual event? Am I doing this?
Yeah.
Or is this just free play right now? I didn't kind of get it. But I think there needs to be more. It needs to, like, everything needs to change, like the ground needs to be shaking, and like the sky needs to be going off like it did in the demo. It needs to be like Titans are coming and like pull themselves out of the earth kind of thing, and then you go and fight them. Or just like a little cinematic at the start. Yeah. Something
over the comms, a little cinematic at the start would be really, really cool. Just some indication of what we're doing and why we're doing it would be absolutely excellent, as you said. Looking forward, there are a plethora of updates, and hopefully they're able to expand upon what this is exactly, like whatever Cortex lock is going to be, because that seems to be coming up fairly frequently. Maybe they're teasing that something cool is going to be out there, but if it's another giant running around, I don't know. And then Legendary Missions Phase 2 are coming in April also, and I just want to see more of that. But the fact that Cataclysm, which is potentially their end game, let me find the quote that they said about their end game initially. I believe that our most ambitious and challenging content will come to Anthem in the form of cataclysms, time-limited world events that cause physical manifestations to occur, extreme weather, incursions of dangerous hostile enemies, and new mysteries to solve. I don't know what that means. Like, to me, that sounds exciting, but I want to know more about what they are. And potentially they're trying to build up to it, but the fact that it doesn't come until May, I'm going to grind out everything before May, potentially, if these other events aren't tweaked in some way. What do you guys think about the whole Cataclysm being delayed so far?
Yeah, I mean, like, it's one of those weird things, because obviously when they first mentioned it, they kind of bracketed it in like the sort of, I mean, we knew obviously that, or I kind of assumed that the whole update wasn't going to drop in like March. But when they said like, this stuff is coming as soon as March, you kind of, there's the wishful part of you that's like, oh, does that mean I'll get a Cataclysm in March? May is quite a way out, yeah, definitely. And I mean, it's they're okay. It's cool. I mean, some of the stuff that is coming. So like the Elysian Stronghold caches, and we know that they'll have cosmetics, provided they're good. Like, I will grind for that. And I know, like, if the drop rate is like mixed, then maybe it's going to take me like a couple of weeks to get the things that I want. So fair enough. Maybe that'll keep me busy for a little bit during March. But then and obviously during April, we don't know a lot of stuff in the Cortex locks. Now, when you factor in like items, so obviously if they add like decent enough items and you factor in there, then going to be back in the loot pool, that's obviously going to be send me back in grinding again. But I do agree that waiting until May for something like that, which is sort of like one of the things that people are so excited about, especially considering they teased it in the demo, but they said that was sort of like an initial taste of what it would begin to be like. So I mean, it is quite a way, and like outside of Anthem, hey, I mean, it gives me a chance to play all the other games that are coming out during March as well. So maybe that's not so bad. But from a continual playing point of view, yeah, it's going to be. I don't know whether. I don't know whether that content would be enough to kind of keep you sustained all the time. I feel like it might be one of those things where once you've kind of got your end game build, you might sort of drop in, like, play it a couple of times a week, kind of do your legendary missions, do your contracts, get some of your caches and your keys, and then be like, all right, cool, I've done this week. Let me check back in next week. So who knows?
Yeah, I think it's a compound of a lot of the problems that are being identified. Like the loot drop change, which is odd, isn't there. So then we do these world events where we're not getting good loot. We're getting like white screens and maybe a purple, no masterwork. It's just really strange, especially when Tyrant Mind is still by far the best way to farm for stuff if you stack your luck. So like they need incentivizations to do these other events or I don't know the solution off the top of my head, just speaking off the cuff, but I'm sure there are some ways that these very smart developers could figure out how to incentivize players. Dantics, do you have any thoughts about this delay?
Yeah, I think for me personally, it's a bit too far out. I've kind of seen all I can right now, and that would be fine. But I think what needs to come before it is like a revision to the loot. There needs to be, for me personally, more to get. I feel like there's a masterwork for every ability and every type of weapon, and then a few components. But you can't really dive as deep as well I want to right now with the quantity. So I just want to see them just consistently add more and more and more pieces of loot. And if they do that, then there's a reason for me to keep grinding out. Like, oh, that's a really cool piece, or that will add to my build, or that's specifically for fire. I really need that. But right now it's like if I've, for example, made a fire build on the Storm, I can't just have, fire-based components, 6 fire-based components. It has to be 1 fire-based component, and then the rest are just, your standard masterwork ones, and then you've got your fire abilities. So that isn't quite hammered out yet, so there's not any reason for me to really, really grind. And I think without that, the content's not really going to matter too much for me. So I hope they put in more items. And to circle back around, Cataclysms, I don't know what to expect.
Yeah, we have no idea what they are.
Yeah, it feels like my hopeful side says the whole world is going to change and things are going to go awry, and there's going to be missions out there, and there's going to be like, you're going to have to run a raid with, everyone else on the servers for a big global goal, something like that, something pretty big and interesting. But I don't know. I've got a bit of skepticism.
Yeah.
So
I totally hear where you're coming from. I have 60 hours of game time in there, and 60 hours of game time, and I feel like I've kind of reached the point where I understand all the mechanics, I understand the interesting builds that I can make, and there's not a ton left for me to chase beyond a few legendaries and just powering up my gear. But what am I powering up for? To keep doing loot? There's no raid, there's no like higher power thing, and I can already take on GM1, so I feel kind of like a badass already. I want something that's truly challenging besides Grandmaster 2 and 3. And I also want a good loot game where I'm really into like, ooh, I really need this build. But basically, as soon as I get Avenging Herald, I've done that. And I want more stuff to chase. And there's not too much of a carrot right now. Hopefully in March when we get this new story content, I'm still hopeful for that. It looks like we're going to get the Echo mission, and that's intriguing to me for sure. Hopefully that gives me enough to like continue through for a few weeks. But as expected, being content creators and people that devour games like this, I think we have largely devoured a big chunk of it, and I'm looking forward to what the next carrot they're going to dangle in front of us is going to be. For me, it's going to be that cosmetic gear. When they do cosmetic gear, I'm like, all right, so now not only am I chasing my build, I'm incentivized to do these other strongholds. I'm incentivized to do these other missions because I want that gear set. I want to look like that guy. And while I'm doing that, I'm getting my purples. I'm getting my masterworks and legendaries.
Yeah.
But I'm still waiting for that patch or that update. But it's coming soon. But I'm taking a wait and see, like sort of wait and see. I'll be playing today, of course.
I am super interested to see. I suppose the other couple of things that I probably could be decent time sinks in April are the mastery system, which we don't know anything about, but it sounds quite interesting. And of course, like April is also another stronghold. So obviously, in terms of obviously overall completion, you'll be through that in probably half an hour. But like I am still running. Like it's weird. Like I still run the same stronghold. Like we do Temple of Scar most of the time because it's just there's a couple of parts you can zip through. You kind of get your 2 chests, you fight your boss. Seems to be a pretty good one for like speed runs. And I still really enjoy it. I haven't got to the point at the moment where I'm like, oh, I'm bored of this stronghold. So I'm still having like a bunch of fun. So having another one in the pool, definitely super excited for that. But yeah, the mastery system like sounds interesting. Like mastery and like other, when you think about it in the context of like other MMOs and stuff, being able to like more granularly like spec into something. Like hopefully it could be something like that. Maybe you can kind of lean more into something that as Dantics was saying, like if you want to be like a fire focused Storm, maybe there's more scope to like lean into fire. But we don't know what it is. But that's the sort of thing that like hearing it could have the potential to like be something where you're like, okay, cool. Now I can suddenly reinvest and do a lot of stuff. So I think definitely, seeing that there's quite a lot of stuff in April that is sort of locked, this kind of Cortex lock stuff, has the potential, because I guess maybe in some sense, maybe March is semi-light because in the grand scheme of things, the game kind of launched at the end of February, right? So for everyone that's kind of just jumped on the official launch date, then it gives them March to basically play through the game and kind of do their stuff. And then by the end of March, everyone's in that position where they're like, all right, now we need something new. So hopefully, I hope April is more full than we think it is.
Yeah, for sure. I'm not laughing at you. I don't know if anybody else heard it, but I just heard this epic intro music from I don't know where, and it threw me off. Like, I was looking at all my audio sources. I'm like, what was that? That sounded really cool. But yeah.
No, I just saw you giggling to yourself. I'm like, what is Arekkz
production behind the scenes thing. If nobody heard it, I'm going crazy. That's all that's happening. Yeah, sorry, Dantics, did you have any final notes on that topic?
No, not really. Arekkz normally does this, but covers most of what I would have said. Good on you, Arekkz.
Yeah. I did write a little bit of a thing, because I imagine you worked on a game for 5 years, you put it out there, and then not only is there a critically negative reception, but there is also this overwhelmingly negative YouTube reception. I do want to say, and I sent this note out to Gamble, but if anybody from BioWare listens, I do want to thank them for crafting this world that to me still has a lot of potential, and I fully recognize how much hard work it takes to even create something like this that is received negatively. So I love dashing around as a javelin. I think there's a lot. There's definitely something here, and I've been playing 60 hours and I've been having a blast doing it, and I'm still going to continue to play. I can't wait to see how the world evolves. And yeah, they have a lot of bugs to squash, but to the team over there, just thank you for crafting a new world, a new sandbox for all of us to play in, even if it does require a little bit of TLC in the coming months and days. Yeah. I don't know if you guys feel that way.
Yeah, you do raise a good point. There are some things they've done incredibly well, like just flying through the world. If anyone at BioWare is listening, is absolutely amazing. And I tweeted that out and I asked who was responsible for this, and Gamble came back and said, yeah, all of us. So well done, guys, because it's even just the mission structure. I remember in one of the critical path missions, they take you through a specific portion of the map that I would have never flown through, but was crafted so brilliantly for flying specifically, that I was like, why aren't people talking about this? This is amazing. Yeah, guys, you've done a fantastic job. And the flying, like you said, is amazing. The combat is really good. There's a framework there, and you could tell there's a really good framework there that could potentially make for a really good game. Now, the problem is, are people just going to jump off now because of all the negativity around it? Are they going to stick around and see what this game can bring? Are they going to revisit it, like Arekkz said, after it's got its content patches and they're done with the content now? Or is this just going to slowly fade away? I don't know. But yeah, I'm really hopeful for the game, because there is a lot of cool things there, and it does a lot of things differently to other games that I've played. So
yeah.
What about you, Destin?
Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, 100% on that point. I mean, just like gameplay is exactly kind of what we sort of like touch on probably like in every episode, but the gameplay is just super tight. It just feels so good, right? And it's same kind of thing that I said in my video. Like, the reason that I keep playing is because just the moment to moment gameplay is just fun. Like the fact that I'm still running, like, basically, like, I mean, yesterday me and our group were playing like a good chunk of the whole day, and we basically spent the whole day running the same stronghold back to back again and again. And I still loved it because because it just feels great. Like, I'm having fun with the character. So it's got the solid foundation. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be improved, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff that needs to be added, and yeah, there is the potential for some slow content periods, but the foundation is there. So if they can just build on that and then kind of like maintain that communication and give people what they want, like I have high hopes for it, because it is a super fun game. Like, I honestly, as I said before, like, I haven't felt this powerful in like a looter shooter, and I actually have that gratification. So yeah, it's good.
Definitely. We're going to open it up to questions here in just a second. So hit @the Destin channel if you're watching on Twitch, and we will answer your questions live on the air. I don't know how many that we happen to have, but if there are any comments that you would like to leave or have us answer live, leave them there now. And I'm wondering, how long with all the stuff that needs to be fixed, how long do you think it's going to take before we start to see the game balanced in a way that we really like? I would guess by June. I think it's going to take about that long to sort of work out all the kinks, but I have to give them credit for being so quick to squash the really important bugs, like the Xbox HDR bug. I'm working on a feature for IGN about things Anthem needs to fix first, and I was like, HDR bug. And before I can even record the video, they fix something. So I keep trying to balance out this product that I've been trying to make, but they keep fixing stuff in my list. So they're really quick to respond, and that is a good thing that I haven't seen before. So I'm really, really happy about that. What about you guys? How long do you think before they kind of smooth out the kinks and land in a good spot? Dantics, you go ahead.
If you're saying kinks as in just technical hiccups, I think they're working on that now. I think they're going to be all over that. That's going to be their priority one, right? They want to make sure this is as smooth as possible before they reintroduce things that could potentially create more problems. So they don't want to increase their ever-growing list of problems. They would rather squash those first. So I think we're looking at, a couple months max to kind of squash those really big problems. Like the audio bug is probably going to be gone already. There's going to be other little things like crashing your desktop and all that stuff that some people get. I think most of those are going to be gone very, very soon. And in the meantime, they have a team working on that extra content, and I'm hoping that doesn't reintroduce stuff. But that's very wishful thinking. I think more content will introduce more problems. So it's going to be an ongoing thing where they're going to have to keep squashing these problems that come up. But in terms of just the big ones, I think they're going to be all over that. So what about you, Arekkz? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, same sort of thing. I mean, like you're definitely like they're always going to be like hard at work, like straight after launch, and it's often straight after launch that a lot of the issues they surface anyway. So I reckon, give them a couple of months and they'll kind of like sort out most of those major ones, and then I think the interesting thing that they're going to be trying to sort of find is that perfect balance point, because like in a game like this, it's very hard to try and sort of find that perfect sweet spot where like you can feel powerful, but people are still happy with it. You're not too OP where you're just like face tanking everything, but at the same time you're not just like feeling like a weakling. So, and I feel like that's probably the thing that they're going to have to kind of keep on revising, because obviously every time they add new items, that's going to then suddenly like mess up the balance pool. If they do suddenly start bringing in like a new wave of weapons and they do let you have like holster talents, then suddenly everything else is going to potentially go out of whack. So I feel like that, I mean, in the same way that in any looter shooter, in Division, in Destiny, that's an ongoing balance. Like balancing is one of those things that you will never quite get right, but you have to sort of like dial it in where appropriate. And I feel like that'll be like the ongoing thing. I think in the intermediate thing, it'll be a case of like, really, it'll be the make or break that happens in like May. It's like, all right, if people are going to wait until May for like a Cataclysm, if a Cataclysm comes out and it isn't what people were thinking, but this is the big thing they've been waiting for, like if it does end up just being a slightly bigger version of what we played in the demo, like a Storm with some Titans and like an extra thing, then I think they might be in a bit of a like, what's next kind of thing. But I honestly, I think they like having spoken to the team and seeing how kind of communicative they are, I feel like they've got some great ideas. I feel like they they're super passionate about it, and I think they I know a lot of people that are in the studio that are actively playing their own game. So I think mid-year is going to be a really interesting time. I think around June time. And that would coincide quite nicely with E3. Like maybe there'll be like some kind of bigger content thing they want to talk about at E3 that could then be like, maybe that would be the time. Maybe come that time they've gone through like Act 1. And then at E3, they can be like, hey, there's something completely new. Or we're like, whoa, okay. And then and maybe that's when, like, if there are lapsed players that have, like, dropped out, then maybe, like, if they announce something big in the same way with Division when, like, Survival came out, people were like, yo, I'm back in. So maybe that could be it. So, yeah, mid-year is about a decent time.
Yeah.
I reckon that's when I'll announce, like, a Loot 2.0 and, different missions and some drastic change, and that will definitely bring people back. I think that's what they really need, like you were saying.
I see a lot of people being pretty critical. Rohit's saying that we shouldn't encourage companies for shipping broken products and fixing later. First of all, people don't get to tell me how I'm critical about a product. You want to make your own YouTube channel? Go ahead and do that. It takes a lot of work and takes a lot of effort, and there's challenges you don't know. Just like with game development, there's a lot of challenges that we don't know that they are facing behind closed doors. Do I think that they have a lot of stuff to fix? Yes, they absolutely do. And they should work on that stuff. But this is why I advocate for waiting for reviews to come out before you buy products. Don't pre-order. Pre-order is not something that I necessarily support. And yeah, have some personal accountability. If you pre-ordered a game and you bought it, then you should really, really wait and learn from this to not pre-order and wait until reviews come out. I mean, there was enough negative press that there should have been concerns in the interim. So I don't know if you guys want to comment on that, but that's how I think you should do it. And if you don't like microtransactions, don't buy microtransactions, and they'll go away eventually. That's the best way to combat that sort of mechanic. Yeah, I mean, yes, there are a ton of problems with it. I'm not defending the problems at all. I'm saying if you feel burned, return your copy of the game. Like, that's your personal responsibility as a purchaser. But it's not my personal responsibility to be your parrot, and I never will be. I'm going to speak for myself. So
and I mean,
that's all I'll say on that matter.
Yeah, I mean, same sort of thing that I said in my video. Like, I ran out the video, my kind of opinions piece at the end. I said very clearly, like, I'm not here to tell you to buy the game or to not buy the game. Like, that's never what I would do on the channel. I will simply say, this is what the game has to offer. It's just kind of the nature of the way that I cover any game, right? Even like when Monster Hunter came out, and I'm a huge Monster Hunter fan, and like as a diehard fan that is probably slightly biased for Monster Hunter, and I would go and tell all my friends to buy it, I'm still not going to go on the channel and be like, you should buy Monster Hunter. I'll be like, this is what Monster Hunter is. Yeah. You can watch the gameplay from my channel. You decide if you like it. Like, that's literally all I will ever like. That's the way I'll always see that. And same principle. I mean, yeah. Like, and again, it goes back to the same thing with Anthem. Yeah, there are issues. There are problems. Like, it's definitely not a perfect game, not by a long shot. But I'm having fun with it. Same reason with Crackdown. Crackdown is a quite a broken game, but I have a hell of a lot of fun playing that game. So like, I just play what I enjoy.
Yeah, like any purchase, if you go out to, buy some furniture, for example, you're not just going to you're just not going to buy it straight away unless you know that's what you want, right? So with games, it's like you don't know exactly what you're getting in the package, right? So what you need to do is you need to, for yourself, look at reviews, multiple sources, not just one person. You need to look at gameplay. If you're still concerned that you're going to drop more money than you have, and you're only going to be able to buy one game this month, then make sure you do the research. Watching people stream, like watching Destin stream, should give you a good example of what the game has to offer. So I highly recommend that. And then look at reviews, even though a lot of them are fairly negative. Even if you look at my review, it's probably about 40% positive and 60% negative. And even at the end, I'm like, look, if you like what you see, this might be a game for you. But if these concerns that I've raised have resonated with you, then maybe wait. Even me, who enjoys the game, who likes the game, has said that. So if you feel personally burnt by any of us or anyone out there, I'm sorry, man, I don't know what to tell you, but this is what the game is. We enjoy it. There's people out there that enjoy it. I have 17,000 people on my Discord that all talk about it every day and enjoy it. So people enjoy the game. And just because a few reviews have come out saying that they don't enjoy it doesn't mean
say a lot.
There are people out there.
But there are but this has been a really, really interesting experience for me, because there's this group of people that are really, really enjoying the game, and there's this group of people that are vehemently angry and dismissive about the game in its entirety. And I would say, yes, there are problems, but I'm not angry about any of it. Melinda Lane actually says, does EA cancel this game or like just stop making it? She says her husband quit. The reception is bad. I like this game, but I'm getting depressed. Well, first of all, please don't get depressed about a video game. If you need to put it down for a while, put it down. I've been in the grind loop with Destiny before, and you just need to walk away for a bit. Like, if you start getting super negative about something, it's just a video game. Just take a break, and then come back to it when you're ready. And what about you guys? Advice for Melinda Lane?
I mean, yeah, exactly same thing. It's literally like I mean, to use a common phrase, it's not that deep, right? Like, games are just for enjoyment, right? Like, I mean, everyone's got passionate games they're passionate about. I'm super passionate about certain games, but it's like, at the end of the day, I play games to have fun, and if I'm not having fun, I'm literally going to walk away. Like, I've covered so many games on my channel. I've played so many games on my channel. And if I'm not making videos on it, it's probably because at the moment I might not be playing it. And like, just there's thousands of games out there. Just like, play something you like.
What's the statement? If it doesn't bring you joy, get rid of it. What's that?
That's
Do any of
basically
your
it.
partners know this?
That's basically it. Yeah.
It's the reorganizing your closet kind of thing. It's like if when you're reorganizing your life, if it doesn't bring you joy, don't bother with it. And it's like that with games, right? Games are there for entertainment. They're an entertainment product. They're not a necessity. They're not a food item. They're not water. You get it. If you don't enjoy it, consider it a loss and just don't play it, right? Don't force yourself to do something you don't want to do. If it doesn't bring you joy, it's probably making you depressed. So just step away.
Yeah.
That's simple.
Really quick, Valkron, why does Destin ignore half the channel? I'm literally running a show while reading chat and pulling questions and then reading the questions. I'm not ignoring anybody. There's just a lot going on. So I apologize you feel that way. So what else we got? We got the fall off with no Masterwork support items in the game as an indicator. Do you think they just ran out of time and needed to get released by the end of the quarter? I'm not sure. I don't know if they were like pushed into this because it is Q1, and we sort of I hypothesized this with Andromeda. Maybe they got put with a hard deadline to get it out in March, and then they're gonna do iterative updates. It's an interesting philosophy, not one that I necessarily like. I wonder do you guys think they would have benefited from getting a year break, or do you think that would have put them in a worse spot launch wise? What do you think, Arekkz? Or Dantics?
I think honestly, if even delayed it to mid-year and had a more solid launch, it would have probably benefited them. That's my opinion. Even if they said, look, we just cannot get this out right now. We need a year. We need a year and a half. I think people would have been annoyed, but I think they would have got more respect from it, especially from people in the industry. If they said, yeah, look, it's not about EA. It's not about pushing deadlines. It's about making a right product. Yeah, that's if they were pushed into it. I'm not sure exactly what's going over there in Bioware HQ. I don't know if this was where they wanted it to be when they released it. But if it wasn't, if it was something they needed to really, push out, then I think waiting would have been better, honestly.
Yeah. Arekkz?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely two sides to it, but I think there comes a point where, obviously, if they could launch it without these issues, yes, 100% would have been perfect. But there does come a point where, I think sometimes almost having it out there kind of gives you a new motivation to kind of get those things fixed, because the only problem is that when you have this continual extended, it was even doing it for 6 years. When you have a game going on for that long, you kind of get into this feature creep situation where every single time they're oh, okay, we got another 6 months. Well, in that case, let's add this in. And suddenly every time you have that moving deadline, you're oh, well, actually we're going to keep expanding it, and then suddenly it never comes out, and then you got Final Fantasy 15, which took 20 years to release, right? So I feel sometimes I'm not obviously not advocating that the game should launch broken, but sometimes there comes a point where it's you just need a hard deadline. Be okay, we have to stop. A great example was Lost Ark. Lost Ark is a game that's not even out in the West yet, but I'm still looking forward to it. But for the longest time, they kept on adding more and more features, and it's if you don't lock these features in, this game's never going to come out, right? So I feel sometimes there's just now that it's out, they're all right, it's in the wild, we've got to get this stuff done. So yeah, I mean, obviously, it wasn't an ideal launch, but sometimes it just has to happen, right? If you always think you can move the goalpost all the time, then sometimes these things will just never release.
I feel like you're speaking from experience, Arekkz. As a content creator, I feel like I've been in a position as well where, I'm making something and I'm oh, what if I just tune that? What if I just add that? What if I just do that? And it just pushes it. And suddenly something that was meant to take a day takes a week, So I get you. I get what you're saying. What about you, Destin?
Yeah, for sure. I don't know. I think they definitely needed to get it out there, and they were probably pressured a little bit to hit that date. I think a few of the problems, yeah, man, that's such a tough question to answer because there's some serious problems with the crashing and the audio bug. I think stuff like that was or seemed to be there it was in the demo, right? So that bug was there and it didn't get addressed for launch. That's something that should have been a little bit more prioritized, but we also don't know the other things that they were dealing with during that time period. So yeah, I'm glad they released it early. I don't know how long it would have taken for them to address all the issues, but we're also not looking strategy-wise at the other consoles that are coming in a year or being announced at E3 this year potentially with all the news leaks. And this is probably meant to be a cross-generational game. I would say to look at a game like No Man's Sky that launched and disappointed a lot of people, but then continually evolved, and then they did No Man's Sky Next. basically what the developer did in that case is they put out something that they were proud of, realized it didn't quite meet expectations, and they're like, you know what? We are going to put our heads down, bust our asses, and make this game better for you. And they did. No Man's Sky Next was a much superior experience to what it was at launch. I do worry with the way that games are developed today that we're going to continue to see this trend of games come out that need a lot of fixes and that are updated with a day one patch. I think the day one patch has allowed a lot of people sort of the ability to release games early. This is a deeper conversation, though, that I would have to dive into more, like with a video or something about. This is like an op-ed that I could go for 30 minutes on alone. So I did want to get to one more question before we do that, and that's from the Foolish Monkey. That Foolish Monkey, he says, "What do you think about balance so far, like classes, guns, mods, etc.? As someone who played Mass Effect 3 multiplayer for hundreds of hours and who couldn't play Andromeda multiplayer for long because they were terrible with balancing." Like how melee builds out DPS, etc. What do you think needs buffs and nerfs? Dantics?
Look, there is the fact that there is no PvP that makes this a lot easier. Because if there is something completely broken, it's not going to really break your experience if you're not running it. Yeah, someone on your team could be taking out things faster, but then you just run a higher difficulty, right? If that's the case. It doesn't really break it in a way that if you're in PvP and you just get completely owned by something, then it kills your experience. So I'm not too overly concerned with the balance right now because, frankly, I think it's because I hate to say it, but there's not enough there to make it broken right now. It feels like some classes maybe aren't as strong as others. But then it's like, in what way? In what way are they not strong? Okay, they might not put out as much damage, but yeah, they have the flexibility of another support ability, or they have more health, or they have more something else. So each class or each javelin brings something different, and I don't feel like there's anything particularly broken besides the combos that we got with Avenging Herald, besides a few other little tiny things here and there. But it's not broken. I don't think there's anything broken, right?
Yeah. What about you? Arekkz?
Yeah, I mean, similarly, yeah. I mean, similar situation. I think it's one of those things where maybe fast forward a couple of weeks once people have kind of actually got like all of their masterwork components they want, all of their legendary components. Maybe then we'll start seeing those builds come into fruition. But much like I sort of said earlier with my Colossus build, I feel like the fact that I'm able to be super survivable and face tank things, but that's within the confines of like what is actually achievable in game. So aside from like the bugs with like the double stacking stuff, I haven't personally encountered anything yet that's like crazy OP. I mean, even like Divine Vengeance, which is like a really strong gun that's kind of great for like ripping shields. It's still powerful, but I feel like it feels appropriately powerful, right? I'm not one-shotting things in Grandmaster. I'm still having to, it still takes me like half a magazine or like an autocannon to take out some of the things on Grandmaster. So I feel like at the moment, at least, in my kind of first initial couple of weeks, I feel like I'm in a good place. But maybe if that's kind of a question we bring back up in a couple of weeks' time, once we've like got better, more fine-tuned builds, maybe then we'll see that stuff show up more.
Yeah, I would definitely say that all the javelins actually feel like they're pretty good if you stack their components properly and their weapon loadouts. I feel like all the javelins really do a good job at playing a part that helps you play the best way you possibly can with that particular javelin. So I'm really happy about that. My critique is mostly with the weapons and inscriptions. I feel like the inscriptions getting stats that are for a totally different thing, which is being addressed, by the way. They are going to look into that, especially for masterwork and legendary weapons. That needs to be fixed. The reload thing, where it's supposed to detonate a combo damage on one of the masterworks and not looking like a fart, basically, that should definitely be adjusted. But I'm
lean into the fart.
Or lean into the fart. Yeah, lean into it.
So and fix grenade launchers. Grenade launchers are broken because they like. I've got all the masterwork grenade launchers and none of them work. None of them work. Like the one that I want to work that restores my armor. Like the grenades blow up before they come out the gun. So it's like,
oh really?
I can't do anything with this.
So work on that.
I'm like, yo, this is great. This will go nicely in my build. And it's just like, poof, poof. I'm like, okay.
So another farting gun, basically.
Basically, yeah.
Well, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
So those are my basic thoughts on the overall balance and everything. We're gonna wrap the show here. I'm gonna open it up to my guests. We'll start with Dantics, see if he has any final points he wants to make before we head out, and then Arekkz, just about your overall experience with the game and where you're at with it right now.
I'm having a good time. A few of my friends have dropped off, so I've made new ones. Yeah. So I think that's what's cool about Anthem is you can kind of jump in, find someone that really resonates with your team makeup, add them to your squad, and then you guys can run things together. That's what we've been doing. I made a lot of new friends. I try not to advertise that I've got a channel or anything like that.
Why not?
It's a bit of fun. Yeah, it's a bit of fun, but it comes up sometimes. But it's a bit of fun that I think would be made better with that extra content, with that Cataclysm, that the Stronger Together stuff, the evolving world. Once all that comes out, and once we get kind of, meat and potatoes to our plate right now, the framework is there. The framework is really there. Just slop up some gravy, man. Just give me some more, and this will be delicious. Delicious meal.
Yeah, for sure. What about your Arekkz?
Yeah, I mean, same sort of thing. I mean, I'm still genuinely having fun. Like, I still jump on pretty much every single day. Play with friends, like, running through. We're working on build. Like, that's the thing that I'm enjoying the most, right? Like, right now, there is still that gear. Yeah, yes, admittedly, I want more stuff, but there is still that gear chase. I am still chasing some things. We are still all kind of in the process of making builds and stuff, which is fun. I would definitely say in the immediate future, I would like it if they could kind of like relook at that loot stuff, because if the current loot drop is their intended way, it's not as much fun as it was before. So I'd like it if they could like relook at that in the kind of at least in the short term, because if we're going to have to wait a little while for the next content updates, then at least let me just farm like Masterworks. Like, it doesn't get like they weren't. I don't personally feel like they were dropping at an insanely crazy rate. They were dropping infrequently enough so that it still mattered, but definitely not like over the top, because nothing. It's still like, even when I would get like one at a check, feels exciting every time. And right now, like, I played for a good chunk yesterday. I don't think I got that much at all. So I think short term, look at that. But otherwise, still having a lot of fun. Still going to be playing the game. Still have like no intentions of slowing down. So yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, me too. Still having fun with the game. Still chasing a few builds, but I definitely need that carrot to chase. And I hope that they continually work on the issues that everybody's been discussing, that we covered in our IGN review, that everybody's covering on YouTube. There's clearly a lot of work to be done here, and I'm excited to see where they take it a few months down the road. But that's it for this episode. Thank you so much, Arekkz and Dantics, for joining me, and thank you, everybody, for watching. As always, until next time, freelancers, it's time to get back to work. See you soon.